In a recent discussion with an end times Christian, that is, a Christian that believes the world will end in the next 10 to 15 years, I was confronted again with a question that I always find to be pointless and misguided. It basically goes like this. If there is no God, then there is no afterlife. If there is no afterlife, what you do in life doesn't really matter, because either way it's just going to end. Without an afterlife and an eternal soul, life is meaningless. So, what's the point? The typical atheistic response is that the point is to enjoy the time you have and try to do some good in the world for others. Most theists, in my experience, are unsatisfied with this answer because it doesn't address the inherent meaninglessness that they see in a finite existence. Leaving aside for the moment that I do not demand that my existence have meaning, I'd like to address the notion that a finite life is meaningless and only an eternal life can have meaning. And I'd like to do so because our earliest beliefs are the ones that we tend not to question, and yet under scrutiny, when thought through, they're revealed to be as flimsy as many things we would reject out of hand as preposterous. Imagine that we all live forever. As an eternal being, you could do whatever you wanted with your life. If you wanted to become a master violinist, you could do so, even with no natural aptitude. You could simply practice and study violin for a few hundred years. But then again, anyone else could do the same thing. If that were the case, what would be so special about being a master violinist? After becoming a master violinist, you could spend a few hundred years becoming a master sculptor, and then a dancer, and then a surgeon, and then a pianist, and then a theologian, and so on. You would never have to choose how you were going to live out the rest of your life, because there would always be time to make another choice later. It is because we die that we are forced to choose what sort of life we will live, and it is by the choices that we make that our lives can be judged by others. But as long as one lives, it's impossible to judge the merit of their life because their life isn't over yet. A man could be cruel and selfish his whole life, and then one day have an epiphany of sorts, and in a final selfless act save the lives of hundreds or thousands of people. It's only with his death that we can look upon his whole life and make a value judgment. Perhaps it seems counterintuitive, but it is death that gives life meaning, and it is an eternal life, even a blissful one, that is truly meaningless. For anything to have meaning, it must end. That's simply the nature of meaning itself. The meaning of a great poem, or a play, or a song can only be discussed definitively once the poem, or play, or song ends. Without end, it is without meaning. Viewed critically, many of our early beliefs fall apart just as easily, and it becomes clear that religion stems from naive perspectives and childish needs. The need to be special, the need to be important, the need for life to be fair, the need to feel loved, the need to avoid loss, either of loved ones or of one's own life. Religion gives one a sense of all of these things, and in that way it can make one feel better about life. But that doesn't make it true, and it doesn't even make it good for us. I recognize that folks, particularly in times of great loss, draw comfort and strength from their faith, and I don't begrudge anyone their faith. As long as their faith doesn't cause them to hurt people, and as long as they aren't pushing their faith on me, or more importantly, legislating their faith inappropriately onto others, then I'm happy that they're happy, and I leave it at that. For my part, it's very important to me that the things I believe are likely to be true, and that means I base my belief on the methodologies that have the best track record for discovering the true nature of the world. This would, of course, be the scientific method. If that means I live in a scarier world, so be it. I'd rather be naked to the truth than swaddled in a lie. Having been both a believer and a non-believer, I can say with assurance that I find my current worldview far more compelling and beautiful than the faith-based worldview I once had. Plants and other animals are not creatures God created for me to have dominion over. They're my cousins, with which I share this world for a time. My existence was not predestined as part of some plan, but instead a very fortunate happenstance. How much luckier I feel now. A glorious sunny day is all that much more precious to me in the knowledge that I will only have so many beautiful days to enjoy. My life has meaning to me, not in spite of its finite nature, but because of it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think.